Today. I bet there's probably some good ones today, huh?
How did UNI not get in the NIT tournament?
Well,
Explain.
I don't know. We should have been in the NIT. I don't know that there's any two ways around that part of it. There's a couple teams that got in that didn't do as much as we did throughout the course of the season, and I don't have access to any of the discussions or meetings or how everybody gets selected. But as I told our guys all week, I certainly felt like we were going to be in the NIT as long as there weren't too many spots that were taken by the automatics. And there ended up being 10 spots taken, and my guess is that was probably one or two too many. Ourselves and Xavier, and there's a couple others that I'm sure feel like they should have been in the NIT. But looking at what Xavier did and looking at what we did, I really felt like the two of us were as or more deserving than probably 3 or 4 teams that got into the field. And so I don't have a good answer as to why we're not in it, Gary, but I do feel like we should have been in it. In saying that, we obviously had enough chances to win one more game, and that would have been enough to get in. But again, I felt like our resume, if you will, was good enough to get us in. And the rule with the regular season champs, I like that rule. At the same time, I understand it takes away some of the spots that would be there for a team like ours. But I still like that rule. If you win your regular season championship and you don't win the tournament, you get a chance to play in the NIT. I think that's a good rule that the NCAA has put in for that field. And in our last year we were able to just sneak in, and this year it cost us a chance to play in the NIT. But I still like that. I still like the fact that they do that. But also feel like we still should have been in, even with 10 of the spots gone. I felt like we should have been in this year's field.
Do you sense there's a little different criteria for at-large to the NCAA and at-large to the NIT?
Yeah, there is. I think they look at a lot of the same factors to get their group of teams, but then when it gets down to so there's 22 spots that were available this year. When it gets down to the 30 or so teams they're looking at, whatever that number is, high 20s, low 30s for those 22 spots. When it gets down to I would say the last couple of those teams, there's some other factors that probably come into play a little bit.
You got North Dakota now in the CIT. Obviously, it's a familiar opponent. How much have they changed since November?
In the game that we played back in November, they did not have their leading scorer. Troy Huff has been their best player and their leading scorer, and was injured back in November. So they're completely different with him. And then I would say both teams are, for the most part, completely different as well, this far along into the season. So we'll do most of our work off of the last 2 or 3 weeks, what's happened toward the end of their conference play and then in their conference tournament. And that's where we'll get most of our stuff from a scouting standpoint. And they've played well. They finished alone in third in the Big Sky and played Weber State to a 2-point game in the semifinals of the Big Sky tournament. And then Weber State went on to play Montana right down to the end for the championship. And so UND's playing very well. And they've got an experienced team, experienced guards. They play fast on offense. A lot's going to happen in transition. Use the ball screen a lot. And they'll have 3 guards on the floor all the time that can use a ball screen, that pass the ball, can make shots, make plays. In some ways similar to us with Dion, AJ, and Mark. They've got 3 guards on the floor that can really play in transition. They can really play in the half court, and they've got a nice team.
I know it works both ways, but how much easier is it for the preparation when you're playing a familiar opponent?
I think that helps the guys to be playing somebody that we've already played this year, somebody they're a little bit familiar with. So when we turn the film on, they've got an idea of we watched a little bit of film this morning already, and they've got an idea of who the guys are, who they're going to be guarding, what they like to do, and I think that helps a little bit.
When did you find out that the NIT was a possibility?
When that last bracket was announced, yeah, that last watching the show, yeah, as soon as the show was over.
And have you talked to the team since? I mean,
Yeah, I talked to a couple of guys last night afterwards, and then we watched film this morning. So I had the team together this morning and told them basically what I just talked about with everybody today. And I'd been telling them that all week, that felt like the only way we would not be in the NIT if too many spots got taken by the automatics. We had the kind of year that gets you into the NIT, and having 10 spots taken was probably one or two too many.
Speak to just kind of what you sense the excitement level of your team is now playing in the CIT.
Yeah, talking to them this morning, Gary, they disappointed that we're not in the NIT. At the same time, as I turned our conversation to the fact that we're still playing, well over half the teams in the country are done and have been done now for a little while, and we still have the opportunity to go to practice today and the opportunity to play, and that they understand that. Combined with the opportunity to win a championship, and that's whether it's the NCAA's, the NIT, the CIT. We have an opportunity to play for a couple more weeks, and we have the opportunity to win a championship. And I know these guys well enough that they're whatever route they choose to take. If they're not happy that we didn't get in the NIT, or if they're thankful that we are continuing to play, I told them this morning, I don't care which route you take. You take whatever route you want, but we'll be ready to play Tuesday night.
Was there any talk about the CBI also, and why is the CIT better for this team compared to the CBI?
Yeah.
What do you see?
Our experience with the CIT and the folks that run it from 2 years ago put us into it again this year. Riley Wallace, longtime Division I coach, is the guy that our contact person with the CIT, and he's been great to work with. And then there's I think there's some other factors that Troy would know more about in terms of the logistics and hosting and traveling and what it costs and some of those kinds of things that I know come into play when Troy makes the decision as to which way to go. But we've had a good relationship with them, and it worked out well 2 years ago, and so I think we made the right decision again this year.
Jake, you mentioned earlier that North Dakota is a different team and that we are also a different team. What do you see as our differences from last November till now? As far as our players or personnel?
Oh boy, ours or theirs? Ours?
Yeah.
Oh, it's boy, Monty, that's a pretty good list of things. We were one of the best teams not only in our league, but one of the better teams in the country in February. I just think the guys have done a terrific job of making progress, and one of the things that's different is our rotation is different. We settled in on a rotation in mid-January, late January, and we went with those guys, and they've played very well. But I think it's a pretty good long list of things really that's different about our team, and I feel like the guys have done a great job of being one of the. We were the best team in our league down the stretch at 7-1, and one of the better teams in the country in the month of February. And it's one of those things you don't have control over, and that's why I don't talk with our guys about it. They're not allowed to have excuses for anything that doesn't happen that's positive when it comes to winning a basketball game. But if AJ is healthy to finish the Denver game the way he's been playing, and if he's healthy at Southern Illinois, I see no reason why we don't win one or both of those games. And then most of the conversation we're having this morning, we're not having. It's more about on the bubble for the NCAAs, because obviously then we get a different seed. I mean, there's so many things that play into that. But you guys don't want to hear me talk about those things, and I don't believe in those things, because when you talk about them, it sounds like an excuse when we're past it a little bit now, and it's just the reality of that situation that we're playing really good. And AJ's injury knocked us off course just a little bit, but that's something you can't control. That's something you have to deal with. But beyond that, I feel like the last 6 or 7 weeks, the guys have been great.
The CIT tournament uses a different format to where you don't know, it's not bracketed, so
Right.
you know who you play next if you win. Talk about that, and when you do find out if you
Yeah, you know, there's games Tuesday, there's games Wednesday, and I don't know if they wait until after Wednesday's games to make their matchups again, or if some of the matchups make sense after the Tuesday night games are done. If they start to match them up Tuesday, I don't know that for sure. You know, they're looking at travel in addition to who should play who. You know, so if there's some travel things that are going to work out well for them, that's going to play a part in who gets matched up, and then who's available to host. You know, if you get a bunch of road teams that win, which ones of those road teams are going to be able to or want to host. You know, there's a lot of those factors that go into it. So I don't know if we'll know much after Tuesday night's games if we do in fact win, but shortly after Wednesday nights, and they'll work on it the entire time. I mean, so we could know Tuesday night when those games are done, or it may not be until after the Wednesday games are over.
Do you anticipate multiple home games, or are we in a position to host all the way through?
That's Troy has had those conversations with Riley and with the CIT, and I don't get involved in that conversation as much. Troy will talk to me about what he's thinking, but he's talked with them about that, and I don't know what exactly he is spelled out to them. I would certainly guess it's an option, but one of the things being talked about that we could potentially host going forward. But that'd be a better question for Troy.
Jake, given what you know about the field and, you know, your feelings about the NIT, you feel like you're a favorite to win this tournament?
You know, I didn't look at all of the teams. I know Bradley's in. I know Evansville's in. I haven't looked at everybody. What I would be able to tell you is what we've done to this point. You know, if you put our resume up there and everybody else is in the CIT, we're going to have one of the strongest 2, 3, or 4 resumes in the field of the CIT. You know what that means in terms of who's the favorite or who's not. That I don't know. But I do know that we've got certainly have one of the strongest resumes in the field. Yeah. Yeah.
How did our strength of schedule non-conference compare to Indiana State's?
They were fairly close. Indiana State's was good. I don't know where it is today. I know it's inside of the top 50, and it may be inside of the top 30. Yeah, it's good. They went out and played a good schedule. What helped Indiana State was Ole Miss and Miami winning their tournaments this weekend. You know, if that's what it was, if they did say, hey, we're just going to take one of the 2 teams, as the days went on, it was going to lean that way. You know, they had beaten us twice, so that already they had one in their column. We're 2 games ahead in league play, so I'm sure that puts one back in our column. But Ole Miss and Miami winning 3 games this weekend, both teams doing that, I'm sure if it was that close, and I don't know that it was. I don't know if it came down to the 2 of us. But those 2 teams obviously have helped them quite a bit. And I think the fact that they had played so well in January, you know, before they hit their little bit of a skid, they were on the bubble for the NCAA tournament, and so many people had talked about them nationally, and they were in that position for so long that I think that had them obviously on the radar longer than we would have been on that radar, and certainly the NCAA bubble picture. But I think more there's 3, 4 teams in the field that didn't beat a really good team. You know, we beat Creighton, we beat Wichita, we beat St. Mary's, 3 teams that are in the NCAA tournament, and there's 3 or 4 teams in the field that didn't beat anybody that was really good, or maybe beat one team that was really good. Those are the ones that I'm a little more disappointed that we weren't in ahead of.
This team's 2 wins away from another 20-win season. Is that
Yeah.
something that you use also as a little motivation to get deep into this thing? Or?
No, not something that I talk about. You know, those a lot of those streaks that are in play right now aren't ones that I talk about with the guys. That I think they know them. You know, they see it enough, and I think they know about all of them. And it would be from a program standpoint. Obviously, that's a good number to hit each year. So you know, if the guys have that on their mind or in the back of their mind, that'd be something that they would know, but not something that I talk about with them.
I did notice that Hawaii is in this CIT tournament. Could you, if we get matched up with them, see if we could go to Hawaii?
Yeah. I wouldn't be opposed to it, Gary, if that's what you're after. I'd be happy to make that trip. No? Maybe we could get like the final 8 of the CIT to be in Hawaii. Maybe Hawaii could host the final 8. We could go there for 10 days. Try to win 3 games in Hawaii.
Let's book it.
Yeah.
How many teams are at the CIT?
32. Yeah. 32. Thanks for coming out again today.